nerdy, unqualified, and indistinguishable from rambling. Welcome back to the A&D Show.
I can't believe people actually listen to this show.
Man, they are not ready for this.
My opinion's always correct, but you're allowed to be wrong.
All right. I agree. Hello, and welcome to the A&D Show. We are back. I'm David.
I'm Austin. It's been a hiatus.
It has been a short minute. We are back from a short 2-week.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago I wasn't feeling well. And then, last week I think we forgot.
I think it's the opposite. I think we forgot a week.
That's right. And then I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah. Last week. But
I'm like, it's Thursday night and we hadn't prepared a thing. And I'm like, well, that's probably better to scrap it instead of being unprepared, because you know how professional the show is.
Right. We can't really approach an episode of this without weeks of preparation. So
obviously. I didn't just prep today for this show. I've been prepping for a month and a half.
Yeah, I totally didn't not prep anything for the show because I don't know anything about the topic at all. That's
to be fair. So this is my Bigfoot moment for you. This is my newfound passion project. I don't hunt Bigfoot like you do. But this is something that, and honestly, I say passion project, it's something that I'm new to. But I've kind of become enthralled by the notion of it.
Yeah.
And that is the indie game scene.
Oh, hold on just a second. Before we get started, this just in. Don't be fooled by the clever lighting. David is just covering for the fact that he's been kicked out of his office and into the garage. Yeah. So thanks for that expose.
Well, to be fair, you're bringing a child into this world. So your office is now a nursery, which is more important than being your office.
This is true. But hey, this kind of looks cool. It's very industrial. I got my lathe and my tools, and
it's exactly what Tim the Toolman Taylor would have if he were doing a podcast.
Right.
And if you have no clue I'm talking about, you're too young.
You're too young. You should turn this podcast off immediately. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Go back and watch the 90s.
We need the viewership.
Please.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Just go watch it.
I remember when I was younger, like that show was like must see TV. Like everyone watched Home Improvement every week. Like,
yep.
And then you look back and it's like, oh, the show was so terrible.
I remember there were some redeemable episodes.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and they thought he had a tumor. He's like, I don't want to die. It was amazing. Yeah. Loved it.
No, I actually went back and I watched it, and it's so funny because like it's kind of like a paragon of like family entertainment from the 90s, right? And I went back, I started from the beginning, and for the most part, every episode that I watched up until the point that I stopped, which I'll explain in a second, every episode that I watched was not just a paragon of 90s entertainment, but it was actually good, wholesome, family-oriented, and like the main character, Tim, does something dumb and embarrasses himself or his wife or whatever, and then learns a valuable lesson, and they move on from it, and it's pretty good, pretty wholesome. And then about season 4, I think there was like 8 or 9 seasons, around the middle of the series, things just kind of started going downhill, where it was like, as an adult, and maybe this isn't the case for everybody who watches this show, but as an adult child of divorce, I watch this show and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see how there's really no way that these characters are not heading towards some serious marital counseling and trauma because of this character's absolute idiocy. And
he's incompetent.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know that the laughs you get from this show after about the 4th season or so, I just don't know if the laughs are worth the kind of overarching or looming destruction of a what has up to that point been a fairly wholesome family scenario. And anyway, I kind of stopped watching. I gave up on it. I was like, you know what? I don't really want to see this whole thing explode on itself.
I get that. I understand.
Anyway, let's talk about some indie games. What do you say?
So I guess when it comes to indie games, you know, for the most part of my life, I was never interested in indie games. I wanted the triple A's. I wanted it's a beautiful graphic, David.
I'm just pointing at the title so people know what we're talking about.
So I wanted triple A's. I wanted the main line, the big budget games, the Maddens, the Call of Duties, stuff like that. The Metal Gear Solids,
Right.
the Final Fantasies, all the games that people were camping out, the Halos, people were camping out to buy those games. And as I get older, I just want something that I can pick up and just play for an hour or maybe two if I'm lucky. As you get older, you don't have the time to game like you used to. So I want to be able to pick something up and be able to play it. I started playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I was all excited about it. And I haven't played it for 3 weeks because I haven't had time to do it. And so then you're like, okay, you go back to play it, and you're like, you forget all the buttons, and it's kind of frustrating. But there have been a large number of incredibly popular indie games. You've got Hollow Knight, Cuphead, Undertale, Hades, Tunic, Inside, Limbo. Most of these are so indie they're available on your phones. I know that I think Inside and Limbo are both available on iPhone. But I think that when you think about indie games, you think about these little like cheap kind of like non non popularized games. And I think about there's a game called Hell Let Loose. It's like a first person shooter, complete indie game. Minecraft is an indie game. That started off such such a small thing, and now there's a movie coming out, and I don't know how much money Minecraft makes per year, but I would guess it is within the millions of dollars per year. And so you sit there and it's like, our global revenue from Minecraft over the past several years: 2018, 500 million, 375 million in 2019, 415 in 2020, 380 in 2021. I mean, for an indie game.
As of September 8th of 2023, the net worth of Minecraft is $2.5 billion.
For an indie game.
For an indie game.
It's unbelievable. Super Meat Boy is very popular as an indie game. But, these are big, small studios, sometimes one or two people doing them, and they got these massive games. And the reason that this has kind of hit with me in the past few weeks is because of a game called Balatro. It is a deck building game that somebody at work said, "Hey, check this game out." And so he brought his Switch in and showed it to me, and I played it. Planning on playing it for like 5 minutes. I'll check it out. 90 minutes go by, and I have lost all track of time. I don't realize that I've been playing it for 90 minutes. You've got it's a card game where you make poker hands, but you got these jokers, and they've got powers, whatever, and it's a wild concept. This game was made by one person, a one-man developer named Local Thunk out of Canada. Kind of created this pseudo game, shared it with his friends, and then he'd seen other deck building games on Steam and spent a good portion of time, 2.5 years, to make this a viable game to put on Steam. Metacritic has rated this game. That's like the place that pulls all reviews for a game into one spot and gives it like one base score. Depending on the platform, the base score is between 90 and 95 out of 100. I have found nothing for this game under 90%. So no 4 out of 5. I've seen 4.5 out of 5. Not even a 4 out of 5. It's 4.5 or 5 out of 5. It's 9 out of 10. It's absolutely insane. Within 8 hours of releasing this game had over $1 million in gross revenue, according to PlayStack. It was the fastest selling game to date. Over 250 copies were sold within the first 3 days, and 500,000 copies within the first 10 days, and 1 million copies within the first month. This guy had said, if one person buys it, cool. He was just kind of doing his little passion project. This game blows up. 15 million, $15 per copy, 1 million copies. Do the math, that's $15 million for this game. And so I buy it thinking I'll check it out. I'm absolutely immersed because you just keep going and then you lose and you start again, and it has interfered with my sleep. I'm playing it until 12 o'clock at night because I can't put it down. It's so addicting. But it's incredible to me that you have these big budget games that come out. I think about Cyberpunk. That was going to be a massive hit. You had Keanu Reeves in the trailer, and it was just going to be such a huge, huge thing. And it comes out and it's buggy, and people lose faith. Now, to be fair to them, they have put in the work to fix this game, and they've made it better than what it was. But the fact remains that if you lose your base audience in the beginning, people are going to give up on it.
Yeah.
And so I have this wondering of, are we going to begin seeing more games like this, more games like the Hollow Knight and the Cupheads and the Undertales, and even games like Hell Let Loose that's a very, very popular first person shooter? Are these going to become more of the norm, where we see less from these bigger studios? And to be fair, every small studio or every big studio began as a small studio. The first Fallout game by Bethesda, in theory, that was probably pretty close to an indie game. I don't imagine there was a massive team working on that, and now that's a TV show. What I honestly wonder is, are we better off as gamers spending 15, $20 on a game, that if it's garbage, you're at 15, $20, as opposed to now $70 per game, which blows my mind. I think games were $50 a pop a few years ago, or maybe I'm just forgetting properly, but I feel like games have gone up, up, up. The last game to kind of grip me like this was Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. And so for me, I just feel like maybe we're at the point, or at least maybe this is just for me, that I'm at the point where I'm willing to try more of these small budget games as a pick up and play for a few hours, walk away, come back maybe the next day or that night or whatever, and give it a whirl.
Let me jump in here too, because I don't want to play devil's advocate here, and I definitely don't want to. I don't want to unravel. I don't think this would, even if it could, but I don't want to unravel your argument for indie games, because I think our listeners and viewers will agree and would probably see the transparency in our discussions when it comes to small budget glory over big budget, big name tank garbage. We've talked about that plenty of times about films, high budget films and big budget studios versus small budget and indie stuff. And we're talking about the same thing here, but I will say that there's not an exclusivity clause on quality and immersiveness when it comes to indie versus
I agree.
major label. And where I'm going with this is, if you remember, if any of our viewers or listeners were around or involved in the gaming scene, about 8 years ago, again, or roughly 10 years ago, I should say, a game was announced that was an indie game from a fairly recent startup company. Oh, I just lost my camera for a second.
There you go. I got you now. You're good.
Anyway, a game was announced from a fairly recent startup company. The company was only about 6 years old at the time, so it was a fairly new company that announced a game that I think the marketing that it got probably ruined it. But Hello Games announced around 2014, 2015, their No Man's Sky game that came out in 2016. and they talked about they were really pushing the envelope with this indie game. That they were pushing the envelope with the technology that was available at the time, and it was a pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive on paper. Let's put it that way. And then when the game came out, and I was one of the people. I was so excited about what they
We
were
talked
talking
about this
about.
game quite a bit. You and I
Yeah,
did. Just
yeah,
privately.
yeah. I was so excited about what this game was supposed to be that I pre-ordered this game. I invested myself into this company, not necessarily literally, but I invested myself by
Right.
pre-ordering a $70 game, indie game, from an unproven company, and then the company, the game came out. It didn't have nearly the promised features and gameplay styles and things like that, and it was a really big disappointment. And they just disappeared. Like the developer, like they went MIA for like 3 years. And of course, they kind of came back and they really made the game by about 2020, about
It
4
was
years
really
in,
good.
the game became what it was supposed to have been on launch. And I don't really know what happened there, but that's an example of the inverse of what you're talking about. A
Right.
game that was promised to be good, that all of us gamers or whatever we want to associate ourselves as, all of us wanted it to be so good and they promised us so much and it fell through in a
Mhm.
hugely disappointing way. So I guess the lesson learned here is that you want to support indie developers, you want to support
Yeah.
smaller companies, shop small or whatever, like the whole American Express local business program is all about. You want to do that, and you definitely can. And I think in this context, a game that's only $15 is a little bit less of an investment
Right.
than a game like No Man's Sky that was $70 at the time. You want to do that because, but it's hard to pierce through the noise. I think for a lot of these games that are smaller, and when they do pierce through the noise, what ends up happening sometimes, not always, but sometimes, is what happened with Hello Games, where they were brought on all this marketing campaigns and they got all of this pre-order stuff going on. It was huge. It was their business went viral
Mhm.
overnight. It seemed for the promises that they were making with their technology with this upcoming game, and then it was like I don't know if they maybe pushed it out too soon
Right.
or what. Maybe the market was asking for them to release the game before they were ready to release it. I don't really know what
Right.
happened, but
Well, but to be fair, I think you see that far too often in games today
yeah,
in general is that games are released before they're ready, and then that's why when you buy a game, there's a 20 gig patch you've got to install before you can even play it, which bugs the tar out of me.
yeah,
When we were younger, PS1, PS2, you didn't have updates. You bought the
yeah.
game and you're
You
ready to
had a
rock and roll.
physical disc that you bought and you played, and if it was glitchy or buggy, you took it out, you blew on it, and you put it back in,
You're ready
and
to
it
rock and
fixed
roll.
it. Yeah, yeah,
But I could say the same thing for that over promise under deliver stuff. I was super excited about Justice League kill the or Suicide Squad kill the Justice League.
yeah,
I was that game looked great. It was going to be a blast. Oh, also we're going to do microtransactions, and that's more of just a business model I have a problem with. But you're seeing that across the board in all these big games now. Whatever
yeah,
they can put a microtransaction in, they're going to do it. I put on Facebook the other day that they released a trailer for College Football 25 by EA Sports. It's been 11 years since there's been a college football game. This is the only chance that I'll get to see Illinois hoist the national championship probably in my lifetime. Just because it's just the curse of being an Illinois fan.
right,
I pray that it happens in my lifetime, but that's a pretty tall hill to climb. But even this game, they announced some features, and they're going to have Ultimate Team, which if you're not familiar with Madden, that's a card system where you can buy these decks of cards inside the game with certain players on them, and it costs money. And I get it. That's your model to keep money flowing in to ensure that you can keep paying your developers for improvements, for patches, etc. So I understand it to a point. But I think that part of my my opened eyes to this indie scene is that you don't see a lot of the microtransaction. You might see DLC. You might see like I know Cuphead's got multiple pieces of DLC for like $5 a piece, where it's like a new story or whatever that you're playing. And so I think that to me is the benefit of it. But I think that when it comes to the big studios, everything that I see anymore is how can we make more money? Now, not all games are like that. I talked a few months ago about a game called Control that I was really into, which was a phenomenal game. No DLC, great a third person action game. It was a lot of fun, and so that was really enjoyable. But I think that far too many of the big budget games are becoming just the cesspool of nickels and dimes, and it's a little frustrating. All of the big budget shooters nowadays are all coming out as these online games. I don't play online. I play online with you playing PGA. That's about it. I
The
just
most
don't.
dadlicious thing we could
Yeah,
possibly
yeah.
find to do.
Hey, you guys want to play 18 holes real quick? That's about as much online as I play, because I'm not an online guy. I want to be able to just sit down. Now, couch co-op, love couch co-op. Bring that
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that was still a thing for most people, because I enjoy couch co-op.
I think my first experience ever playing a game with other people, particularly a military-esque shooter style first person, whatever. I think my first ever experience to that was SOCOM US Navy SEALs on the original Xbox console, and my brother and a couple of friends of ours, Chris and Hong, the four of us got together at Chris's house and we played that for probably 5 hours straight, and it was amazing.
Do you remember how hard that game was?
Oh yeah,
It was
oh yeah.
incredible.
It
Because
was
it was real, because like two shots and you're dead. Like, it was
yeah,
realistic.
it was realistic, and it required actual tactical like team building
And it was fun.
and communication, and like you don't really get that as well. Like I play online every once in a while, Call of Duty or something with my wife
Mhm.
and a couple of our friends, and that's fun, but it's not tactical communication you're having and like strategy. It's legitimately like you're just cracking jokes the whole time
Yeah,
and having a normal conversation while you're shooting other people.
yeah.
But I remember my brother and Chris and Hong, the four of us, we were sitting there and we were like talking tactics, and we were like, where are you at? What can I do? How can I help? Come over here. I need a second. I need a backup. You're going to take the lead. You're going to follow up. You're going to breach the door. I'm going to come in guns a-blazing. Like, it was legit. Like, of course, we're in our late teens at
Right.
the oldest. So we weren't quite as professional as you would think, like a SWAT team or anything, but it was still fun. And
Yeah.
that was my first and only in-person co-op experience that I actually genuinely liked. Because nowadays, this is maybe like getting into the weeds here, but nowadays in-person co-op, like co-op side by side split screen on even on the PS5 with, let's just say, what is the Call of Duty Resurgence or Revenge or Revenant or whatever the one with the R was a couple of games ago. My wife has. We tried to play co-op on there top, like, and it splits top and bottom, which I can't stand. Like, I understand your field of view is
Oh,
better and
no.
it's better for you to be able to see your peripherals, but down the middle split
In the
screen,
middle.
so you have maximum height and
Yeah.
scale,
In the middle.
because your screen is wide, and if you're splitting it down the middle, you're only getting a thin little sliver of
Yeah.
screen. Ugh, it's the
That's
worst.
terrible. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But
So
I guess for me, but even like indie games, like they have sports games. Like, have you played golf with your friends? It's dumb.
I
It's dumb.
think so.
It's like some people get like a cone, some people get a square. It's just stupid and it's a blast. Like it's just
Yeah.
fun, you know.
I
And I
do
think that,
enjoy. I don't know that you would consider it indie, but the games that come in your messenger on
oh
your
yeah,
phone,
yeah,
those are fun.
yeah,
Those are free.
yeah,
You can play virtually or even in person. We've I wouldn't say we got together and played it like for that purpose, but
right,
we'll be like at somebody's house and we'll bust it out and we'll play 5 card draw or we'll
yeah.
play
It's it, but
Uno or something.
well, but that's the thing. I think that the indie games are better for potentially playing with friends.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like, um, the Jackbox games.
Yes.
Survey says is a good one.
It Takes Two. Have you ever played It Takes
I
Two?
have fun. It's fun.
Did you play it with your wife or did you play it with
No,
somebody else?
I'll play somebody else.
Okay.
No,
Me
no,
and Allison
my wife does not play a game. No, no, she
Allison and
played
I played
the
this
last game she played
together.
was Echo the Dolphin, okay? Like, that's the last game she
What?
played. The last game she played was Echo the Dolphin on Sega Genesis. That's the last game.
Of course,
I mean,
Sega
I think
Genesis.
she played a couple races on, like, Need for Speed possibly,
That's
but, like,
hilarious.
she d now I'll say this, occasionally we pull up Mario Kart on the Switch, um, but we played last weekend and, my 7-year-old daughter was upset because, I'm not gonna let you win. I'm sorry. It's just how I roll. If you
You
wanna
just
win, get better.
you just get that you earn that savage dad hat
Yeah,
that you earn.
yeah.
No, Allison and I played It Takes Two together, and it took us like a month to get through it because we only played it for maybe an hour or two every 2 or 3 days or something like that, and we really had a good time with it. And
Spoiler
we've
alert,
played,
terrible ending.
huh?
Horrible ending to that
What
game.
ended up what ended up happening in the ending that you got?
Uh, didn't one of the creatures have to, die at the end? Or
If
am I thinking a
it
different
takes
game?
You might be thinking of a different game. It Takes Two is about these two
Nope.
parents
Yeah,
who
yeah,
are.
I'm thinking a different game. You keep talking, I forget what I'm thinking about.
It Takes Two is a pretty cool, unique indie game about these two parents who are kind of contemplating divorce, and their daughter makes a wish, and the two of them, her parents, end up being turned into these tiny little dolls that she made, kind of like um, I can't remember what they're called anyway, but voodoo dolls, kind of like little voodoo dolls, but there's not voodoo, it's not dark magic or anything like that. It's just a little funny little wish. Anyway, they go on this adventure to try to get themselves turned back into themselves because they're, well, I don't want to spoil it for everybody. It's a pretty good story, and you basically it's called It Takes Two because it takes two people to play the game. You can't play it by yourself. So you play one side and then, or one character, and then your partner plays the other character, and you kind of play through it together. And there's little challenges, and like one person will have to move this block, and the other person will have to move this block to open the door or whatever. It's a pretty fun little game, and we played that. Good lord! Like I said, I mean, it's not a cheap game. It's $40 on
Right.
Steam. I think it was on. I don't know if it still is, but it was on the PS Plus premium game catalog. So we got it for free, obviously through that, but that's not cheap either. That's like $150 a year now.
This is
So
gonna bug me for the rest of the night because I cannot think of what game I was thinking about. I'm looking and I cannot find what game it was that really, really bothered me with the ending. Oh, anyway.
we like the games that we like to play. Some of them are like multiplayer, like It Takes Two, but some of them are games that are storyline based. And what we'll do is she will have a save file and I'll have a save file, and so we'll take turns over like several days. So she'll play one night, play through the story, and then I'll play the next night and I'll play through the same part of the story, and we'll make different decisions. So like a good example of this is Detroit Become Human.
Right.
That game is amazing.
I don't think it's that game. I don't believe is on Xbox, which kind of stinks for me.
Oh, is it not? Oh no, it's on PS4 and it's on Steam. So if
Yeah.
you have Windows, it's great though. Like that's one, and then what was the one about the kids? It was like a horror game, but it wasn't. Um, I can't remember what it's called. It was a good one too, though. But basically, those choose your own ending stories, we really
Mhm.
like those because
Oh, you're thinking about the cabin, not the cabin. It's like it's like a
it's like
winter themed game.
yeah. It's about these kids that go to a cabin and
Yeah,
they're pursued by a killer or
yeah,
something.
it's a great game.
Very stereotypical, like a
Hayden
slasher
Panettiere's
killer,
in that game.
huh?
Hayden Panettiere's in that game. I know that.
That's right.
Um,
I knew that. But yeah,
after
those are
after dawn is my god.
after after
After
until
dark,
dawn. Until
until
dawn.
dawn. Yeah, until dawn.
There is another game called After Dark or something like that, but it's not related.
But I don't know. For me, it's I like games like that that you can just pick up and play, and I think that's the joy of indie games is that the controls aren't complex. They're not overly some of them are deeper than others, but a lot of them are not like overly deep. They're easy to pick up and just run with, and I think that's as I get older, I think that I see an increase in indie games in my future because I think that there are a lot of gems out there and ones that I haven't played before. I never, I played a few here and there, but there are so many that I've not even touched yet that I think
Yeah.
will be in my very near future.
There's one. Unfortunately, it's not available on anything but PlayStation and Windows. But I think you would probably enjoy this one, or maybe not. Oh, it looks like it says Steam on here. It might be available on Steam. Oh yeah, I guess that's Microsoft. Anyway, it's called Erica. Have you heard of this one?
Mhm.
It's pretty cool. It's basically an interactive movie. Do you remember the Bandersnatch show or episode of on Netflix a while ago that was like the choose your own
Oh yeah,
adventure
yeah,
movie or whatever?
yeah.
It's similar to that, except that you have a little bit more kind of motor controls of the characters.
Nice.
Um, and it's this whole big mystery that you kind of have to investigate and unravel what's going on, and it's very strange. But we played that one, and we both really liked that one. So, and that's a super indie game. It doesn't even have like a production company. It's just got it's developed by a company named Flavorworks in London studio. And it was published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, but it was one of those they picked it up from an indie studio and pushed it out.
Uh,
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I will definitely say if you're looking for a fun game just to pick up and play, Balatro is one you should definitely check out. I think it's fun. It's easy to play. If you know poker hands, and even if you don't, it kind of lays it out for you, teaches you how to play. But man, it's a absolute blast to play, and it took me probably a week to beat my first deck, and it was just so much fun. Like it's addictive and fun to play. And honestly, for me, $15 for a game, I don't feel like that's asking a whole lot. Not for a game that
Yeah.
really it's got unlimited potential for playtime.
Right. That's a small ask for something
I think so.
that's gonna entertain you for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Versus versus one of these like large major label games like and this is no disrespect to the creators because I love these games, but like the Uncharted games, for example.
Yeah.
Those aren't exactly like they're replayable, but it's just you're doing the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
And it's for me, it's really hard. I get like super bad like motion sickness when I go back and play
Mhm.
the original Uncharted because the graphics fidelity is funky in a weird kind of way, and so it makes me super like sick to my stomach until
Right.
we get to number 2. So I don't even go back to play that one, even if I wanted to. But like those games for me, Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 4, I beat both of them in a single playthrough in one day. And they were amazing. It was
Right.
so good, but $70
For a day.
for a
You know,
day's worth of
right,
entertainment.
right. The last Call of Duty game that I bought Cold War
Yeah.
2 years ago because I love Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan wanted me to kill the commies, and I'm like, I'm down, Ronald. Whatever you need me to do. And there's like 5 missions in the main story. And that's it.
Yeah.
Now, the missions are lengthy. It's half an hour to an hour per mission. But regardless of the fact, it doesn't. That to me, that does not that does not make a game to sit there and say, okay, $70 for maybe 5 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
And
You know,
the thing is, it seems that ever more game developers, um, for games like Call of Duty, are it seems to me that ever more they're shifting their priorities to their online
right,
market
right,
and all the like you said, microtransactions that go along with that. And what the problem is that they're neglecting the story mode of the game. And that's not to say that, because I played Call of Duty Black Ops, or what is it, Cold War. I played it twice. I played it through the first time on story mode just because I wanted to get the story and I thought it was great. And then I recently went back and replayed it again on like hard or extreme or
mhm,
hardcore or whatever the hardest mode is, and I still beat it with fairly relative ease. And it was a good story and whatever, but like you said, even on the hardest mode, it wasn't more than maybe 5 or 6 hours worth of gameplay. And then you go to their online stuff and it's fun, but there's just no, like, to me, I enjoy an online multiplayer shoot 'em up kind of drop them into a field and everybody kills everybody kind of laser tag
right,
style. I enjoy that, but I only enjoy it because of the company that I play with. And I don't like meeting people
no,
via online
right,
gaming because people who play online games uh, are
toxic,
psychopaths,
toxic.
toxic,
You know,
psychopathic
yeah, right,
12-year-olds, most of
right.
them.
I did that with Battlefield back in the day. There were a group of us that played together, and it was a blast. But now those friends are they're in careers or they're with kids or whatever. And so we just don't do it anymore.
Yeah,
I remember Rainbow Six Siege. It's 5 on 5, and I had my group of five that I was played with. And we don't do that anymore. And so for
yeah,
me, I don't want to go online with some randoms and play. I don't want to play. I won't even play Madden online with a random person. I don't enjoy it because it's a toxic culture.
yeah,
And that's probably another podcast for another day. The toxicity that's in gaming, but I just for me, I just like a good single player story, and they're hard to find anymore, honestly.
yeah,
They're out there, they really are, but they're hard to find. Because like you said, it's these studios are focusing on their online platform, their online shooters. Now you've got Black Ops 6 coming out soon, which will be on Game Pass as a day one release, which is going to be awesome. I'm super excited about that because I don't know that I would want to necessarily spend the $70 on a game that I'm afraid I would beat relatively quickly.
right,
The only game right now, the only game that I've got plans to buy anytime soon is the college football game, and that's going to be it. And so I'm okay with that.
right. And I think this all kind of in the same way, like we talked about in previous episodes, in the same way that um, Hollywood making so many blunders in a row, particularly places like people like Disney, making so many blunders in a row and spending so much money and losing so much money, the same way that that is opening the door for indie filmmakers and low budget filmmakers to step into that void and make things that people actually want to see and actually care about, and make them to a degree that people are okay with watching as far as quality goes. I think the same can be said about gaming because there are so many tentpole games out there. Cyberpunk was a good example. I think you mentioned earlier that it was one of those games that it just didn't live up to the hype, and it's gotten better over time, very much the same as No Man's Sky, but it's just not lived up to the hype. Now,
Right.
I will say there are some that are coming out that I'm pretty excited about, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But I think this ultimately does open up the window for, hence the name of this podcast episode, for the rise of indie games
Mhm.
in gamer culture and making it something that people want to play
Yeah.
and that are excited about again. And so, speaking of excited, what are we excited about currently?
Uh, I have watched the trailer for College Football 25 40 times. Okay. I've mentioned that game 14 times tonight. I'm sorry. Okay. It's been 11 years. I'm dying for college
Is
football
that
on
that's
my
not a
account.
Madden property, is it?
No, no. Well, it's EA,
EA,
but
okay.
they it's a whole new studio doing it, and people people watch the trailers like, oh well, that tackling animation's out of Madden. It's like it's a tackle, like I it's a tackle. There's supposed to be a gameplay trailer coming out this week, I'm hoping. But I'm really excited about that game. I think it's going to be um, um, really, really fun. My wife knows it's coming out, and so pray for her sanity.
Yeah.
The second that I can't get some kid to Champaign, they want to go to Alabama and said I'm going to just lose my mind. I need that 5-star kid in Champaign, but I'm excited about that. I go on vacation in a little over a week, so I am very much ready for vacation, and then I will be at a conference right after that. So I'm going to a security conference after that. So we'll probably have another short hiatus coming up here real soon, as I'll be out of pocket for a little bit. But I'm looking forward to that. I love traveling. Love traveling with my family and my in-laws. We vacation with my in-laws every year. So we always do that every year, and so I greatly enjoy it. It's a lot of fun for me, and I love to eat food. So that's the best part of vacation is eating food.
That's right. I am excited. There's a couple of things coming out, a couple of games coming out that I'm pretty pumped about. First of all, and I apologize, I guess, to you and to all of our other indie fans out there, but these are not indie games. These are big
That's
tentpole
fun.
games, and I think it's okay to be excited about those too.
Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
two of them that are coming out that I'm pretty excited to play. I don't know how much hope I hold for them to be what I want them to be, but I guess we'll only know when we get our hands on the games and play them
Mhm.
themselves. The first one is the Star Wars Outlaws,
Yes.
which is supposed
Please
to
don't
be
suck.
the
Please
first
don't suck.
true open world Star Wars game. Now I know Star Wars, whatever the last two of the Star Wars Jedi Survivor or whatever that series, um, I know that those kind of have an open world feel because you get to pick where you go and what missions you go on. But this is supposed to be a truly open universe type
Mhm.
game, and I'm pretty excited about that. There are some limitations that I'm being made aware of as far as you don't get to pick your character, you don't really get to make any choices about maybe the main storyline, which that stinks, and I hope that that's not the case, but we'll see. But the fact of I think we all were shocked. Let me just put it this way. I think we were all blown away by just how enjoyable an open world Hogwarts game was.
Right.
That game was so much fun, and it's still fun. I still haven't beat it because I haven't touched it in like 7 months, but
Right.
it's just a beautifully made game, and the opportunity to kind of immerse yourself in an open world that is a Harry Potter world. Like I think they really nailed it. That was a huge tentpole game that really um it really met the mark. It set a standard for building up expectations and delivering on those
Mhm.
expectations. So Star Wars Outlaws, uh, you know, whoever the developer is for that game, please don't let that game suck.
Please don't.
I guess if it's gonna suck, it's pretty much set in stone
I
at this
think,
point. But
well, and to be fair, I think that post Star Wars Battlefront, like the first one that they redid
yeah,
on like PS4 and Xbox One. Everything after that's been pretty decent. Squadrons was really good.
yeah,
Battlefront 2 was really good. The Star Wars Jedi series has been fantastic.
yeah,
So I think that they've really kind of turned that corner in
yeah.
garbage, which has been nice. So hopefully, hopefully that continues.
My hope is that this Star Wars Outlaws game will soothe the savage beast that is the reality of what happened when Disney bought Lucasfilm. Because when Disney bought Lucasfilm, if you look back through the history records or whatever, when they bought Lucasfilm, there was a number of game projects in the works that were some of them were fairly far into development. That one of them was about like the Coruscant planet, and it was going to be like an open world exploration type thing of that planet itself. I don't remember what it was called, but it looked awesome, and they had gameplay footage. They had marketing materials created. They'd spent tons of money, and when Disney bought Lucasfilm, Disney just shut it down. killed it. And there were a lot of people that were really upset about that because it was something people were really highly anticipating. And my hope is that this game will soothe that wound a little bit because it does look awesome. And it's coming out here in just a couple of months. And Allison and I are both very excited about it. The second game that we are pretty pumped about is the newly announced Assassin's Creed game. It's the samurai one, if I'm not mistaken. The Japan-based
looks fantastic,
where you get to play as either the samurai or the assassin, and it looks amazing. Granted, it's the cinematic trailer that's available for viewing now, so those always look good. But the implications behind the cinematic trailer are pretty exciting. So we're pretty pumped about that, and thankfully, both of those come out this year. And my wife is very excited about them because the plan is for her to be stay-at-home mom at that point. So she'll have, I don't want to say ample time, but she'll have a little bit more time to spend on that than she does with working full-time right now. So so those are two things that I'm pretty excited about. And the other thing is there's a few movies that are out now that are available for rent that I haven't gotten the chance to watch that I'm really pumped to see. The first of those is the latest entry in the Monsters universe, the Godzilla X Kong, whatever that's, I can't remember the subtitle for it. That's out available for rent. I'm pumped to watch that. There's a couple more. The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a sequel to the Matt Reeves helmed trilogy that was just phenomenal. That came out and is getting really good reviews. I'm excited to see that. But I will say this. Have you gotten to see the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare yet?
No. Is it on video? Is it on video on demand yet?
It is. I have it. I bought it, so I can give you my login. You can watch it if you want.
No. I'll get it.
Okay. Don't listen to this, Jeff Bezos. But anyway,
it's I'm adding it to my list. Hold on.
Okay. It's really good. It's really good. It's definitely a Guy Ritchie film. The pacing is very Guy Ritchie because he's got this really interesting like pacing problem where it's like there are times where you're just racing through the scene, and then there are times you're just like sitting there staring at a character for 30 seconds. You're like, what's happening? He's got a very interesting pacing situation he does, but it's great. I think you'll really like it. Last thing I'll say, and then we can cut to credits or whatever it is that we do at the end of this show. I am so pumped to be a father.
It's the best.
I think that's what I'm most excited about. Because
that's why we record at night, because my kids are in bed.
Right. But just the fact that I'm going to have a little dude to make into the world's greatest nerd, I'm so pumped about that.
Yeah, I look forward to helping him understand that Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie, and explaining to him why. You know, Victor Wembanyama, who was the #1 draft pick this past year in the NBA, he came out and he's a huge Star Wars fan, and he agrees with me that Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie ever made. So he's a very, very smart guy. He's from overseas. He's a great he's like 7'19". The guy's huge.
7'19".
He's like freaky tall. But his favorite Star Wars movie is Revenge of the Sith. So I'm not the only person in the world that holds the correct thought regarding what the best Star Wars movie is, because it's so good.
I think my concern with your unabashed appreciation of that particular film is that it's just because of the one scene, the one clip of the little kid who's about to get freaking murdered by Anakin. And when he strikes his lightsaber, he's
what do we do, Master Anakin? And he gets jump. It's hysterical. I laugh every time. No, honestly, it's not just that. I think it's just the way that they tell that story is just so good. Now, I did, as we close, my final thought is that I watched a video on Twitter the other day of someone doing like a table reading, and it was the guy that the voice of Pinky from Pinky and the Brain was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Seth Green as Chris Griffin was Anakin, and I was crying. Like, it was just like,
Yes.
"You will never take her from me," and but, like, with that Chris Griffin voice, stupid, but hysterical, like, just
Yes.
so dumb, like, so, so dumb, but it was amazing, and that's my kinda humor, it's just so good,
Yeah.
but
Love it. I saw that, and I thought of you, and I was like, I didn't know if you would find it funny. I think maybe part of me was a little concerned that you would find it a little bit disrespectful,
how
because I
dare you
know how
spit
much
on
you love that movie.
how dare you spit on this?
Right. This
It's
piece of
it
cinematic
was
history.
yeah,
Anyway, well, I think that's all the time we've got for this week. Will we be back next week? Maybe.
maybe, we'll
Will we be
see,
back the week after that? Who
probably
knows?
not.
I think this is the thing that I like about this show is that season 5, it started out so strong with the
Yeah,
episode every single week. But the beautiful thing about this show is that we make the rules.
yeah,
So this
and if
episode,
we're
these
not here
episodes can be as short or as long as we want them
if
to.
we're not here next week, we'll be here maybe the next week, and maybe not,
Right.
who knows?
And maybe
You'll see us when you see
2024,
us.
maybe the whole year is season
Yeah,
5. Maybe we never have a season 6. Maybe
yeah,
the show just continues in season 5 until we have 7,000 episodes
yeah,
in the
and we're,
season.
like, in an old folks' home just hanging out,
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
the good old days
Yeah.
of color televisions, the color talking pictures.
Yeah.
Who
Reminiscing the
knows?
day that TV switched from analog to digital.
Get over it, people. Quit
You know,
demanding so much out of us, like, we're working
who
our
do you
hearts we're
who do you
working
think you are?
man, doing the best I can. I'm raising children and working, and I had to mow the yard the other day, it was terrible. I like mowing the yard, to be honest with you. I
I
don't mind mowing
do.
the yard.
I like mowing the yard. I did mine, the backyard like,
Pop a
2 days
podcast
ago.
on and just call it a day, man. It's
Come on
great.
now. It's good stuff.
Lots of sweet
Especially
tea,
especially if it's an A&D Show episode because shameless
but I don't
plug.
listen to my own product. It's weird.
I don't either.
I don't
It
like the
is
way my voice sounds, so I apologize
I
to our
don't either.
listeners for the way that I sound.
I sometimes, just to pad the numbers a bit, will put it on in the background and turn it
Perfect.
all the way down so that it just plays and we get the
Perfect.
viewership, but that's a little bit too much of an expose, I think. I think we're gonna get banned for that. Oh well, it's been fun. We'll see you never. Bye everybody.
Peace out.